And it takes a visionary group to be able to see the possibilities of this. And what we're looking for is visionary groups in different parts of the country and different parts of the world to become partners with us instead of the investment bankers, or in addition to investment bankers. So that the spirit of our resources, if you will, isn't telling us what we got to do, that we got to focus only on the industrial dream of corporate America, although we're going to be doing that, as I mentioned. But we want to keep the bias a little more wide open. We want to get partners and participants that can agree with the central vision, which to us is to learn how to evolve a relationship that will allow the educational objectives of society to be met and learned into. And at the same time, to do that in a way that's helping individuals become what's most relevant to society themselves, and that is pervasively more internal learning. And what we're doing is proposing, we've got a few starting nugget ideas, a few prototypes filled in, and we'd like to explore, to the extent that you're interested, how we might participate in this together. And given our time, that's all I'll say right now.
It's sort of an organizational question.
Sure.
I'm fascinated by who's producing these ideas. Obviously, you are central to that, but who's on your team? I don't mean names, but how are these ideas are getting produced? And what method do you go about continually generate new learning theories?
The first thing you do is, I think the one characteristic of all of our partners is they're becoming more conscious of their own enterprise. So it's more important than any influential or empirical or mathematical, if you will, research. They're becoming personally more alive in their own watching of their own learning. And the road into doing that is to recognize the enormous jewelry value of your own frustration. Right? That where you're frustrated is where your great learning opportunities are. Go into that, how is the frustration occurring? Why is it? And feel it, think it, go into that. And that is the pathway. That's one of the barometers we kind of test this way. There's a number of children involved. My son and his neighborhood democracy projects, and nieces and nephews, and friends, children, and so there's a very informal network. There's also quite a formal network. Over the past 3 or 4 years, Alan has created, in collaboration with us, people from I can't think of any place in the world that we haven't seen somebody from. Okay, at the Ministry of Education level, or at some kind of a teaching level, or some kind of a curriculum design level. So we try to expose and learn and dialogue with different participants from around the world what some of their issues are, so that we can continue to take this deeper. One of the philosophical components at a couple levels in this, that you may or may not have encountered in your own travels, is the work of the physicist named David Bohm. He was a collaborator with Einstein, developed an alternative theory for the reconciliation of relativity and quantum mechanics, and called it the implicate order. It's a model that was part of my ideas for designing the undercarriage technology. And he's also, interestingly, left physics, or parallel to his operations in physics, has been the driving force of the emergence of what might be called a new model of dialogue. And Peter Singate's book, for example, if you're familiar with the discipline, the very core piece of it on team learning is 20 pages or so of discussion of the work of David Bohm. So he's plugged into this. And we have dialogue from time to time about this work. So we are connected through Apple University, where I spent 1.5 years working with Apple's internal learning problems, working with Bill Isaacs from Oxford, familiar with and have mutual relations through with Chris Argyris at Harvard. You mentioned Peter Singate and his group. So we're trying to be sensitive to what's going on in business, organizational science, organizational learning, phenomenology. Research brings an awful lot to phenomenological studies. And almost yoga, meditative, personal experience science. Other people bring more experiential and mathematical or empirical, research-based information from educational networks that we're involved in. We've just become a member of the American School Design Team in the United States. The National Technology University is going to start broadcasting courses we're doing on designing technology for learning. So it's just beginning to spiral out, start to happen right now. And these are some of the different.
Could I just ask a follow-up question? First, to see groups like this becoming involved as co-learners.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the role that you would see for a group like this?
Well, one of the things that I would do in proposing how we might work together is to say, how can we start to build some kind of matrix, community here, of what we perceive as our own personal obstacles to learning and our functional obstacles to learning about the education system and our roles. One of the starting places is to really identify the frustrations of the group itself and start to have some dialogue about it. That's a group process issue. You and I talked on the way up about the fact that Phil Isaacs might be interested in working with this group, Bob, just towards developing the dialogue process here. Okay? He's just been funded. I'm part of his team in terms of telling him on dialogue, learning about dialogue. But he's looking for groups with power and that are aligned for minimal intervention change practices. So that would be one level. The other level, frankly, would be to start working more intimately with curriculum designers, instructional designers, teachers, administrators, and start to find out what are the organizational needs the system should have. We have some idea of what personal needs are, at least enough to start with. We've articulated it. What are the organizational needs that have to somehow become confluent with the individual needs? So if we start to see that together, okay, I think that's one of the ways that we can help, quite independent of, in addition to the internal dialogue process. The other level, though, is I'd like some partners to actually put some resources together, with beta test and this capital, to help develop these products, develop this technology, and start experimenting, start putting in schools, start doing teachers with, and not like, here, catch, right? But in terms of, let's start having much more intimate relations and learn. I think the basic ideas that we're talking about have got, and I'm a little biased, some inevitability. Right? And that what we want to do is be real careful with that. We want to find a way to learn to tune into how that can work. And so I think there's a series of ways in which we could collaborate that I would say all have the flavor of this mutually learning-oriented relationship from extending the design of the technology, producing the technology, to learning how it can actually evolve in relation to learners in your district and charges, how it can relate to teachers better, that we build a lens system together rather than you buy this widget. And I don't profess to know how to do all that. But I do think that the way I'm articulating and approaching that is worthy of consideration. That's the kind of approach that I like to bring to it and request that we bring back, that we agree that we don't know. We've got some starting things we can work on technologically. We put it all together in the column and figure out how can we proceed. We learn our way in with administrators, with teachers, with learners. And I think that when my travels here in Canada so far, there's a lot of people that are interested in this.